This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to Solving Problems in Functional Skills. My name is Bill Henning, and in this session we're going to have a look at speaking and listening. For some reason, a lot of people have problems with speaking and listening, and hopefully by going through this mini session, we'll sort some of the problems out. So what does speaking and listening consist of? Well, in the new reforms, it consists of three areas that you have to do as a learner. The first area is a formal discussion. This will take shape as an unfamiliar topic, and we'll cover that in a minute or two when we come to it. The second part is a presentation. At level 1 now and level 2, you must give a presentation, and again we'll cover that in a minute or two as we go through the session. And finally, the third part is discussion on another's presentation. So someone in your group will give a presentation and you will discuss the contents of that presentation. So there you see it's broken down into three parts. Now, one thing I must say about functional skills, about the speaking and listening test, is a lot of people tend to get into it too heavy and do too much research into it. Speaking and listening is about speaking and listening. It's not about you standing up there and giving a lecture or once you've done your presentation and then just telling people what it's all about. It's about engaging the members of your group, because there's going to be at least 3 people in your group. That's the minimum amount that you have in your group. And from there, you have to speak and listening. So it's about taking that conversation on a journey and hopefully enlightening people by the end of it. So let's go through and break it down and have a look at it. One is a formal discussion. That will be an unfamiliar topic. It will be given to you by your assessor or your tutor. And what you have to do is, now this can happen fairly quickly. You only need to spend about 20 minutes, half an hour researching the topic you're given, and then you can go into your talk. So what kind of things are you expected to do in a formal discussion? Well, let's have a look. Make requests, ask questions. So when you're talking about, say for instance, we spoke about climate change, you could ask questions of the audience, what's their experiences, what do they know about climate change, what different types of aspects of climate change affects them, that sort of thing. You can ask any question you want. And if you're any savvy at all when you're doing your speaking and listening test, the more questions you ask, the less you have to speak. You can respond to questions and stuff. All right. Communicate your ideas or opinion. Give your opinions. You may be for climate change, you may not believe it. You can come up with anything, any scenario you want. Now remember, the person who's observing you doesn't know your ideas and your opinions, so get them out there and share them with the rest of the group. And use appropriate language. If, for instance, you're passionate about climate change, use passionate language. Get your voice heard, get your opinions across. Contribute to moving the conversation forward. So when somebody's asking you questions or you're talking about something, respond to that person's questions. Even if you think you know the answer, well, still answer the question, still dig deeper. As we like to say, probe, dig deeper. That's what probe means. If you probe into something, dig deeper. Don't just accept what somebody tells you, just probe deeper. All right, adapt to the discussion situation. So as the journey goes on and the topics changes and it moves on to different aspects of, say for instance, climate change, then you adapt to that discussion and put your views and your concerns across, and take the argument or the discussion on a bit further. And finally, interject and redirect discussion. So don't forget, if you're leading the topic, and the topic maybe go off on a tangent, bring it back on, redirect the discussion, or if it's not going the way you think it should go, don't be afraid to interject and say, let's bring it back a bit, like, you know. So that's there is the formal discussion. So you'll use a formal language for this section. All right, so how do you prepare for this? Now, the maximum time you need to plan and prepare for this is about 20 minutes, half an hour. You don't really have to get into it too heavy because it's a discussion. Again, you're not giving a speech, you're not expected to give a lecture. It's just a discussion on a topic that may be topical, maybe not. But again, it's unfamiliar to you. So you'll be given a form, something like this, and this is how I get my learners to do it. You'll see here it's broken down into the document is broken down into planning and preparation. All right. So what you do is for the first 4 or 5 minutes after you've been given a topic, all down the left-hand side here, you see this is all off the top of your head. So you just think about anything about that topic. In this case, the topic is fox hunt. So for the first 4 or 5 minutes, just off the top of your head, think of anything you can do with fox hunting. And you can see here, it's only 1 or 2 words maximum. It's just what's in your head at that point in time. And these are all the things you might want to get some from experience, some may not be. Now, you may not know a lot about fox hunting, so you can quickly go into something like Wikipedia, as you see down here. And if you do go onto the web and check something for a couple of minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, then make sure you make reference to it in your planning and preparation sheet. So once you've done that, you've got all the things, a random, off the top of your head, random list of stuff that you may want to talk about during the formal discussion in fox hunt. And you can see all you do when you're getting prepared for your discussion is you take these bullet points from the left and you put them over to the right. And then you can see now you're rearranging it just like telling a story. You've got an introduction, you've got the main paragraphs or the main meat of the discussion, and then you've got a summary to sum it up. It's just like in a letter, it's just like reading a story. You have a beginning, a middle, and an ending. And depending on which topic you're talking about, you slip it into the different points you want to bring up. In this preparation here, for both sides, including the research time, should take no more than half an hour. The problem that learners have got is they over-egg it, they try and get too much information and they end up giving a lecture. The idea is not to give a lecture. You've seen from what I said before, it's a discussion. So more questions you ask, the more feedback you get, the more you can probe deeper and you can ask more questions. So speaking and listening is about speaking and listening and taking that the conversation on the journey. So that's how you prepare for your formal topic. Now we'll do a bunch of informal presentation. And this can be on any topic you want. It can be a familiar topic, that could be a passion or a hobby or something that you enjoy doing and you would like to get across to the rest of the group. Now this can come in the form of a PowerPoint presentation. It could be A4 sheets. It could be anyway. Some people have done videos and used blogs. You can do anything you want about the topic of your choice. Now, first thing you've got to remember is communicate your information and ideas and opinions clearly and effectively. So just like the plan and preparation, you base your evidence on what you've planned and prepped. Right, next thing, you express your opinions and arguments. So if it's something you're passionate about, get across why you like it, why you love it, how you get into it, who's involved in it, what's the great thing about presentations and your formal discussion. You should be asking yourself the questions: what, why, where, when, how, who's involved, all these sort of things. All right. Use language that is effective. So you can hear in the tone of my voice, I raise it when I get excited. So use that language, use a passion. You can use funny language, comical language. You can use rhetorical, you can use any kind of language you want, as long as it's relevant to your presentation. All right, and respond effectively to detailed or extended questions and feedback. So that for the presentation, you've roughly got about 5 minutes to present your piece of work. And then once that 5 minutes is complete, you've got 5 minutes after that to respond to questions. You open up to the floor, you ask them for questions. And if they ask you a question, don't just respond to it, respond and ask by asking further questions. Dig deeper, probe deeper, drag the information out your audience, your group, all right, and take that conversation on a journey. So by the end of it, the group will have a clear understanding of your presentation, and hopefully it'll work well for you and you'll give a good presentation. So how do you prepare for your presentation? It's fairly simple. It's the exact same as you did in your your formal discussion. You just, for example, off the top of your head, all down the left-hand side, you write down what's there. Any references, you could go to my blog, for example, as a reference. And then you can see here what this learner done has introduced the story. And again, it's just like telling a story. It's a beginning, a middle, and an ending. And again, it's 1 and 2. Not you don't want big sentences and stuff like that. You just want 1 or 2 words, and that's it. Because this and the formal discussion, it's just like a prompt sheet. It's for you to keep you on track when you're doing your discussion. All right, so don't try and over-egg it. Don't try and put too much information on it, because if you put too much information on it, you end up with a script, and you don't want a script. This is just to prompt you to keep on talking if it goes off, or to make sure that you cover all the topics that you want to speak during the presentation. All right, so that's how you plan and prep for your speaking and listening presentation. So you'll do this first, and then you'll go to your, for instance, if you're doing a PowerPoint, you will then just recreate this on your PowerPoint, and that's all you need to put on your PowerPoint. Maybe shove in a couple of pictures or something that's related to the topic you're going to be talking about. All right, that's it. Now, the final part is the discussion on another's presentation. All right, got to, once the person has done their presentation, you as part of the audience, you need to identify the relevant information. So whatever that person's talking about, whatever the presentation is about, pick up things, write notes as you're going along, and write notes so that you can ask questions on that and dig deeper and probe. This is the key to speaking and listening. Take that conversation on a journey, and the best way to do that is to ask questions, dig deeper and probe. All right, so follow narratives and lines of argument. If you don't agree with something, make your points of view known, make your opinions known. If you agree with it, and give praise or whatever, it's totally up to you. Ask detailed questions relevant to the discussion. All right, and if you're given an answer and you're not happy with that answer, follow it through with another question. Don't be afraid to ask questions. All right, communicate information, ideas, and opinions. Just because one person's view of a topic is their opinion, you can put your ideas and opinions across, and you can agree, you can disagree. You don't have to be nice in a speaking and listening test, but you don't have to be argumentative, but you can get your point across. And as long as you do that effectively, then it's all within the bounds of the speaking and listening test. And finally, use language that is effective. So if you agree with something, show your passion. If you disagree with it, you can show your anger, but you can ask all sorts of things. You can use all sorts of language. You can use informal language, and you can be light-hearted in this section. It doesn't matter. All right. And the good thing about this section, discussion and others presentation, is there's no prep sheet required. You're just asked to respond. The main thing is when you're listening to someone's presentation, is when they have completed that, you ask questions. So write notes during the presentation and then respond after it, and really get into the meat and bones of anybody's presentation and ask them as many questions as you can. Remember, ask yourself why, what, where, when, how, who's involved. These are all the things you should be asking yourself when it comes to speaking and listening. And the main point is to get across all 3 of the parts of the speaking and listening test, is to get involved and take that conversation on a journey. So by the end of it, these are all a wee bit more wiser. And that is a speaking and listening test you have to complete as a learner. So all I really may say is that's all, folks, and good luck with your speaking and listening test.